All right, I've decided that for this document I need to put in a table, and it's going to have to be an accessible table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it in Word or Pages, and then I'm going to save it as a PDF so that accessibility and the items that I put in there will convert right into that PDF, and I won't have to do much more after I've done that. But if I'm going to use a table, there are a few steps to make sure that it's accessible. And here's just to begin with, we'll just go to Insert. A quick aside, one thing we don't want to do when we go to insert a table is we don't want to insert an image of a table, because if I come up here to insert a picture and I put in picture of a table, that might look fine on my document. The trouble is this won't mean anything to a screen reader unless we put in alt text. Now the alt text for this would be really extensive.
C D E 1 last name sales country quarter 2 Smith $116,753 UK QTR 3 Johnson $14,808 USA QTR 4
So the benefit in this kind of a table is that there is an X and Y axis, and the screen reader and the individual can find what is, say, B9. But that's the only time we want to use the table, but it will have to have the actual text and it will have to have a heading set up on it. So we're about to take a look at that. We'll just go to Insert. Well, I'll choose Table, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to choose Insert Table. Okay, now the next thing I need to do is, now that I have the Design and the Layout tabs that have shown up automatically when I started a table, I want to make sure that the header row and the first column are both checked, and they are in this case. And what that is, that makes that sensible to a reader. That this first row has the name of all of these columns on the top of it. Likewise, this first column will have the names of all the items in these rows. So if that makes sense, let's just put those in there real fast. I'm going to put in the days of the week. So I am going to change the design slightly. I'm going to go to Design again, and then I'm going to choose the lightest shading I possibly can for that. So I'm going to choose this guy, and you can see that it doesn't look bad, and that should be adequate contrast so that the reader can see that. All right, so I've created this simple table, and then I'm going to save this. Now that it's been saved as a Word document, I'm going to be able to save it as a PDF, and I'm going to go to Options. Within Options, I've got to have Enable Accessibility Reflow, and I'm going to have Create Bookmarks on there, and then I'm going to have Convert Word Headings to Bookmarks. So that's something I will consistently do when I save things from Word to PDF. Okay, so I'm just going to move that up as a file, the easiest way I know how, into my courses and check the accessibility. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to open this up, and there it is. Okay. And you'll see with just those several simple steps, if you do need to use a table, it is going to basically be cleared when you upload it through Ally, because a reader can make sense of it. Let's take a look at a second table. Now this table is a little bit different, and the reason is there aren't too many items, and the strength of a table is that you have an X and a Y axis, and a sighted reader can scan the details on one and the other, and then of course where they meet or where they triangulate, and you can find data rapidly. However, for a screen reader, it's a little harder to do that. Now if you have a table like this that is a nice organizational structure for these 10 students and their assignment, really this isn't a table, and it's unnecessary to do it this way. If you can make this an ordered list, a reader will see an ordered list, so it's no longer a table that's supposed to triangulate data, and instead I'm going to create an ordered list that looks like this. So I hope it became clear that there's a reason to use a table at intervals. It is important that one doesn't lean towards using the visual structure of tables just to put in regular lists and language. It will impair a screen reader, and it's not really fair. So as you're developing your materials, even if you lean towards that kind of organizational structure, rethink it when you're considering all your students. And have a good day.